Hello. I know it's been a while. Welcome back to another episode of Greg Tech New Horizons. This is Zypher, and today I think it's time we finally go to Mars. Do you like my rocket and its boosters? We'll wait for this fuel to get completely loaded. Looks like we're full, and without further ado, let's take off. Mars, here we come. Eee. Oh boy, we're gonna have some fun here. I think for the sake of it being nighttime, we'll dig ourselves a little pit right here. Oh, hello, slime. Oh, am I getting lucky? Is it about to turn daytime? Alright, well, if there's one thing for sure, I don't want to dig a pit. So let's go ahead and set up our oxygen. 176. I think that's pretty good. Now let's give the bubble distributor some power. Alright, now we have a little not really base camp established. Let's get to prospecting. I think it's only right to do one where we currently are to kick things off. And let's see what we get out of our first prospection. Drum roll, please. No dash. No uranium. No nothing. Nothing interesting in this area. We have a decent sized chlorobenzene vein right here, but I have a feeling we can find much better. So I think if I plop the next one right here, this should be lined up right. And we wait. Raw prospection data. Now let us go back and see what this consists of. And yes, I did decide to make a hut because I don't know if it rains or any type of climate will cause my machines to explode. Into the scanner, which then goes into the printer and into the assembler. Any luck? Dash. We do have one. And here's a beryllium/thorium vein. I won't be too mad about that one. And I also see a quartz vein in here as well. So I'm pretty satisfied with this turnout. Let's go ahead and slap a miner on this dash and get that working. Anyways, I think you guys know how this goes. I'm going to go ahead and do some prospecting, get a bunch of stuff discovered, set up a couple more miners, maybe even a fresh titanium tier 2 oil drill, and we'll come back when I have a bunch of more materials. I'll take all of this, all of this, and all of this. Now I did go and find the dungeon and defeat its boss, the creeper that just throws TNT over and over. I didn't think there's any point in recording that because it's a relatively boring fight. All I'm really waiting on now is for the super tank to fill up with some more chlorobenzene and we'll head back to the overworld. We've got a super tank of salt water, plus a ton of cells up here. A super tank of chlorobenzene, a compressed chest of an absolute ton of minerals. And I think it's fair to say we go ahead and leave. Get toasted, mobs. And just like that, I'm out of here. Thanks for the help, Mars. We are leaving for progression. Alright, so I've returned safely to the overworld with all of these crazy ores, probably a fifth of it being sulfur. I have no idea what I'm going to do with all of it, aside from turn it into sulfuric acid. But I've made a few modifications to our base. I'll start with this. I went ahead and moved our nether portal over, so I just have a little stairwell down here. I kind of figured since I get a bunch of ores and it's quadrupled from the nether, it only fits to add it kind of right here. This is just a rough idea of how I want it to be. We'll tweak it and add some different stuff to the walls and kind of patch up this floor a little bit. Maybe even do a different type of staircase or a different entry method. I'm not 100% sure yet, but this will do us for now. I started processing some of our desh in the blast furnace, which is giving me hot ingots that I am putting in a vacuum freezer and cooling off, along with some titanium. This is one thing I really want to settle. I need to stop using this one combustion engine for any random EV machine I need for a recipe. Anyways, I've also added a little crop breeding area with just a simple little crop matron, some Weedex fertilizer and water. I have the water being pulled from this reservoir into a super tank, which is then sending it into our main farm as well as the breeder farm. Right now I have glowflower and sugar beet breeding. Started with a 010 sugar beet and we're already at 1651. I had to tweak this setup a little bit. I added a void upgrade to our carbon drawer so that these electrolyzers will stay processing. But the main tweak I had to add was to this oxygen electrolyzer, or I guess CO2 electrolyzer. And I had to go into this fluid conduit and actually enable round robin due to the fact that I needed to be able to utilize some excess oxygen for random tasks, but it's also depositing, if I don't get stuck on the roof, oxygen into both of these large chemical reactors at the moment, and it kept getting sucked up, making nitric acid, and I had no oxygen to use. So with the round robin enabled, it now evenly distributes the oxygen between all three of its outputs, and everything's good to go over here. I just don't have any fermented biomass being distilled at the moment. Now the biggest change I made, one is on the screen. Hello, Applied Energistics. But there was a flash of it, I believe, at the start of the episode, and I never explained anything about it. Behold, the machine tower. I think here in the next few minutes or maybe a couple hours, I'm probably going to adjust some of these machines and maybe keep the bottom level half of it EV machines. And the top level will be HV, and I'll move some of these MV and other side processes over to another tower. Up here, I have our salt water that we brought back from Mars being electrolyzed down into sodium hydroxide, hydrogen, and chlorine. This is a really simple setup. It just has a filter for the electrolyzer with an empty cell, so it will only insert empty cells. And it inserts hydrogen into here, pushes the chlorine from the fluid auto output feature, and then deposits sodium hydroxide into the drawer. Nice. All of our desh we are triple plating down to be able to complete this arc lamp quest, which requires 16 arc lamps for some reason. I think that's a little insane, but we're going to do it regardless. And we also have our tungstate being processed in this macerator right here. Now, the thing that I've been slammed for over and over for not having gotten into until just now, Applied Energistics. I do have myself a little tiny network established. I have an HV battery buffer being charged by our gas turbine that is powering a controller, and the controller is then powering a little storage system for us at the moment. I have put quite a few things in here already from a chest, a bunch of random parts and whatnot. Could be useful to have all together right here. And before long, I'll start experimenting with the automation aspect of applied energistics. But I do have this up and going for now. We only have 2 of the 4K drives being utilized so far, which is good. And I can always craft up some more with some blood, sweat, and tears if I need to. One thing I'd really like to do is get access to these storage buses so that I can attach them to my drawer controllers and have access to all my ingots and dusts in the AE system as well. So I think I might try to go through this little chain here and see how painstaking it is. Luckily, I'd already started it earlier, so I should just be able to keep chugging along and see how hard it gets. I'm just going to take all these loot bags for now, which reminds me of another thing I need to do. Set up an enchanting system. Now, another thing I did was place some quartz miners, because that's one thing I didn't grab from the moon. But I did check, and under the vein stats, the vein that appears on the moon and Mars only has a weight of 20 versus the one that's on the overworld, or the nether I should say, is a weight of 30, and it's quadrupled for the ores. So I think I luck out gathering it from here instead. And look at all this wonderful Certus quartz, quartzite, barite, anything you could ever want is right here. Plus a bunch of random things that it's gathering right now. But we'll let it do its thing and stop eventually. Our first 4 ME interfaces. And finally, we have access to the storage buses. Interfacing with inventories. So I believe if I attach him right there and just connect them together with a glass fluix cable, I should be able to see it in our system. Oh my goodness. That is absolutely amazing. Doesn't use any of our storage cells because they are in drawers. Alright, now that we've got this machine wall set up for the time being, it's obviously not completely filled in and finished. We're going to start working on enchanting our loot bags, because I've got a decent stockpile. So here's one Fortune 2 book, which is just as simple as putting a book in quill with whatever your desired recipe is. In our case, it was Fortune, and it just requires a certain amount of emeralds. Now, I do already have a second Fortune 2 book, so we're just going to take these two and combine them together into a Fortune 3. And then we come over here to dupe the book using this typesetting table. I had to craft up some reading glasses just so I can see what our level requirement is for this book. Looks like it's 40 levels. Shift right click and we'll get the typesetting tablet, or the enchanted plate I should say. And we place our enchanted plate in here. Put some squid ink on the top, I think. Yep. And now we just need some books. And we'll start making our duplicated book, I believe. Cool, with this Fortune 3 book, we can now start enchanting our loot bags. The only thing is I kind of want to bump these up to IV. So let's see how much longer it's going to take to unlock some IV. I think to unlock IV, all we need to do is finish this Tungstensteel quest. The time has officially come where my power setup for the blast furnaces no longer works. A recipe like Tungstensteel with no gas that requires 1920 EU per tick, but is supplied a constant 2044, and when there's a hatch installed right here, a 2043 additional, they simply can't keep up. Therefore, I've went ahead and made a large manilian turbine blade. This gets us a little over 2.5 amps, or not. That is not the total amount of EU that should be being produced. And I think the reason is I jacked up the optimal flow. So we're going to have to go in and change that once I can shut this turbine off. Good, that's more like it. That's exactly what it needed to be, around 5300 EU or a little over 2.6 amps. Even still, it's not quite 4 amps, so this does drain the living crap out of the battery buffer even with the turbines running. Finally, I have the second turbine. Let's put it in. Buffer dynamo hatch is connected. Now we process and wait for it to turn on. Also, if you didn't already notice, I added a little industrial information panel with a liquid sensor kit so I can easily see how much benzene I have left back there. Oopsies. I forgot I need stronger than 4x cable going through here. That was a bad mistake. The worst part is I even have plenty of it right here. Well, at least nothing exploded. Can't complain too much. And with those few improvements that took roughly, not going to tell you the amount of time, hopefully we'll have IV unlocked in a matter of no time. Then I can enchant loot bags, and then we can call this long, incredibly adventurous episode. And 10 years later, the Tungstensteel quest. And at last, our first IV machine hole. Tier 5 IV has officially been unlocked. Now, what this means is we can officially trade in some EV loot bags for the IV loot bags. Wow, we're up to 10 IV loot bags already? At last we can finally craft some enchanted IV loot bags. And without further ado, let's see what we get out of these. Tungsten cable, wow. Heavy duty alloy, wow. The ender, that's alright. I'll take the borosilicate too, that's nice. Couple more chances. Come on, give me some ender tanks or something good. Threefold is always so lucky. Oh my gosh. Maybe that'll come in handy, I'm not too sure. Rare earth 2. There we go. That's all I wanted was at least 2 of them. I'll take more if they would like to give it to us. Ooh. This dynamo hatch just means that's one less I have to build for our next episode project. Oh, no way. 8 large Tungstensteel. Oh my gosh. Another data orb. 12 huge Tungstensteel. Ooh. Alright, last one. Please. Sword of the Cosmos. Crate of silicone rubber and 8 of them. Oh my gosh. That is just. Please come to me. Even though I just set up the chemical reactor for it. Come to Papa. I'd say that was a pretty good run there. These being the most, I think, beneficial things out of that. I'm glad I got 2 ender tanks. I would have liked some more, but we'll be getting tons of loot bags, and I could even go on a quest rampage if I want. But we'll save that for another time. Well, everyone, I think that's gonna do it for today. Sorry for the delayed episode. Life tends to get pretty busy sometimes. But we'll be gradually making some progress here and there, doing what I can. Thank you for tuning in, especially if you watch all the way to the end of this. I haven't even started editing footage, so I have no idea how long this is going to be. But please leave some comments, engage, let me know any ideas, advice, feedback. Thank you again for watching, and I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Bye now.